Alright, so here I'm going to show you how to use the Yoast SEO plugin for WordPress. Now on any post or page that you create or your entire website, search engine optimization or SEO is really important because the better your SEO, the higher you're going to end up on the actual Google searches for the keywords for your site. Now before you actually get into all this, you want to figure out a couple objectives for your site. What keywords you want to use. You want to make them kind of as specific as possible as they can be to what you do. You want to make sure that you have those keywords laid out, and then you also want to figure out who the competition is, what keywords they're using, where they end up in the search, and things like that. And you just want to make sure that you really think about what the SEO is that you're putting on your site, and you don't do it for just every post, but you want to make sure that you have a theme going out through your entire website. Now, after that, once you have that all figured out, what you want to do is to actually do SEO using the plugin. Is in any post or page when you're creating it, you can just scroll down, and then there's just going to be this thing called WordPress SEO by Yoast. And it's going to look like this. It's going to have your page title, it's going to have the URL to it, and all this. This is what it's going to look like when it shows up in Google search. So basically, when someone searches for your website and say this article comes up, this is what they're going to see. This is going to be the actual description of it. So you're going to want to know, you have 140 characters or however many to say what this post is. This is the date it was made, etc., etc. That's what they're going to see. So the first thing it's going to ask you to do is enter in your focus keyword. And that's basically just what you want the main keyword or phrase to be for this post. And what that's going to do is it's going to go through all of the posts that you have and find everywhere that it's in the post. And then it's going to use that data and see how it's used, and then give you, a certain rating based on how well you use the keyword. The second part is the SEO title. You don't really need to worry about this too much. The SEO title is going to be what this is right here when it shows up. Generally, it's going to be fine set as what it usually is, because it's just going to be this title with then the title of your site coming after it. So you have client Boise Elliott Outdoor Markets, and then the site is Business Moxie. When you scroll down, it's the name of your post, the title of your post, and then the name of your website. It's pretty simple. That's what it's going to look like most of the time. If you want to make a special title for your post, you can just enter in a title. It's really easy, and that's all you have to do. So you can see now that I've edited this, it's going to go and show the focus keyword, and it'll tell you whether it's found in the heading, the title, whether it's in the URL, the content, or the meta description. Now what all that is the page title is, the default title of your page. So in this case it'd be Client Boise Elliott Outdoor Markets. The article heading is an actual header inside of the article itself. The page URL is obviously the URL that, this URL right here that links to the post or page. Content is actually the content of the post, and it's going to tell you how many times it's listed in both the URL and the content, or anything in this right here. So it's mentioned one time in the URL and one time in the content. And then the meta description I'll go over in just a second. So what the meta description is basically it's this thing that lets you describe what the page or the post is without actually having to write it in the content of the page itself. It gets assigned to its own little special box in the HTML coding. So if you want to put the description of your post here, then what you see happens is that description goes right here. So instead of taking the default 140 characters of the first part of your post, what it's going to do is it's going to take the meta description and put that here. So anything you want people to see on the search engine when they're coming up, you want to put that in the meta description, and that's what they're going to see. So basically, This SEO title and the meta description allows you to change what people are going to actually see when they find this page or post in the search engine. It's a really powerful tool, and it's going to help you with your marketing a lot. This is the page analysis part of Yoast. Basically what this does is it's taking the information that you gave it in this general tab, the focus keyword, any special titles or descriptions, and then the actual content of your post, and then analyzing it to tell you how good it is as far as SEO goes. So it's going to tell you everything that's wrong, and that's what this little red thing means. If it's kind of okay, it works out, then that's what okay is. And then this check mark means that that's, great. You're doing good. You don't really need to worry about these as much. Of course, you can always improve it, but you don't have to. So the meta description is this thing right here. And in the description of the post, I didn't actually put the keyword in there. So what the analysis is telling me is that I haven't done that. And it's just reminding me, you need to put the keyword in your meta description so that people understand when they look for this page or post in Google that they're going to know what it's talking about. Because again, the meta description is what shows up right here when they actually find your post on the search engine. So it's really important that you have your keywords in that part of your search. And this is another thing, is the keyword doesn't appear in the first paragraph of the copy. So what you want to make sure you do is have the keyword in the first paragraph. That's like in essays, you want to make sure that people understand what you're talking about as quickly as possible. And that's what this is telling you to do. Just make sure that you make the subject of your post as clear as possible, as early as possible. So this is the Flesch Reading Ease test, which basically says how easy it is to read the content of your post. There's an equation that goes along with it. It's actually not the most difficult equation in the world, but you don't need to know it because this does it automatically for you, which is awesome. And it'll even tell you how to fix it. Shorter sentences and less difficult words will help. This number right here, just so you can see what it's not, what it is, make sure it's not arbitrary. If you click on this, it's going to open the Wikipedia article, and it's going to give you this layout right here telling you, what the scores mean. So 90 to 100 are the best possible scores. 60 to 70 are, still pretty good. 13 to 15-year-olds will understand what you're saying pretty easily. And then 0 to 30 are really not very good unless you're making something specifically made for people who know that jargon. And if they don't, then you're going to want to make sure it's easier to read. But if you're making a case study for, some psychologist, then it's going to be kind of okay if you score low on that test. For the most part, though, you're going to want to make sure this is as close to 100 as possible. This is just telling you that you should have 300 words in a post or page minimum. That's just, a really good idea. It increases your SEO, and it really just helps people go through your website, because if you only have, 100 characters on a page, then there's not really a lot for them to read there. So this is just reminding you to make sure that they have enough information on that page to actually learn something from what you're saying. Header tags are those things when you select text and then you go here and you have, header 1, header 2, header 3. Those are just really helpful because it helps organize your page. If you have headers splitting up your content, so you have the first header, maybe intro, the second header is, arguments for whatever it is. It's basically a way for you to separate the content of your page into useful sections so that people don't just get this wall of text that they can't read at all. And this is just reminding you to make sure you put header tags in. And then it's also helpful if in those header tags you put your keywords. That's actually what this article heading is if there's no keywords in your article headers, then it's going to tell you that they aren't, and you should put them in there. Images are really good for breaking up the content. So making sure that you have relevant images going along with your content, so again, people aren't hit with this wall of text and they actually have something else to look at, maybe some white space, maybe a picture of the cat that you're talking about in your post. Make sure that you have images in there so that it's just more interesting. People are a lot more likely to stay on your page, and that also increases the SEO. Outbound links are basically links to things outside your site that you reference in the article. So like here, this link right here is an outbound link because it takes you to this link, which is not on the website that you're doing, it's on Wikipedia. So you want to make sure that if there's any place for you to put those links in there, make sure you have them there, because that's one of the biggest things you can do for your search engine optimization. The meta description is, again, this thing right here, and it's also what people are going to see when they find the search of your post. Basically what you want to do is make sure it's at least 120 to 140 characters, because that's going to allow people to see as much of your post as possible and as much of the relevant information that comes with your post. Because if you just tell someone this post is about cats versus this post is about, my cat Timmy who saved a dog today, people are going to be more interested by the second post. Then the page title is referring to the actual keywords of your site, and you want to make sure that you have those keywords in the title, because that way when the Google bots and Ask bots and all those things go through your website, they're going to understand what your page is about, and that's going to help your search engine optimization. The keyword or phrase is, again, this keyword right here, and you want to make sure that it ends up in the URL of your website, and you can see it's right here in Market. And it'll even highlight it for you where it is. Well, not quite highlight, it'll bold it, just so you can kind of see what it's talking about. If you have a long URL, that's kind of helpful. The keyword density is how often the keyword is mentioned in your content. So it's going to take the number of times you mention your keyword, and then divide that by the actual number of words there are on the content. And that's going to create this decimal right here, this percentage, and that's going to tell you how good your content actually is comparatively to your keyword. And 2.38% is a pretty good percentage. So you want to make sure that you mention your keyword as many times as is relevant and appropriate in your page, because again, that's going to increase your SEO, which is what this entire plugin is designed to do. The better you have all these things done, the more checks you have, the better your SEO is going to be, and the higher you're going to be on the search engines. And then finally, the page title is recommended to be between 40 characters and 70 characters. That's just because that's the easiest to kind of digest for people who are looking at your title. Because if it's longer than that, they'll lose interest. Maybe it seems like it's not a title, or it seems unprofessional. And then if it's too short, they won't get what you're talking about. So you want to make sure it's within that really comfortable range of 40 to 70 characters. And now you have the Advanced tab, which just kind of goes through what the actual crawlers from the search engines are going to look at. And what a crawler is basically Google sends out, a certain robot, and it's going to go through your site, and it's going to look at all your stuff, and it's going to see how many links you have outwards to your site, it's going to see how many links you have coming into your site, and all that stuff, and it's going to rate where you should be on the search engine based on all that information. So this is basically telling your website what to tell the robot. The meta robots index, that's just saying whether you want to show the robot this site or not, or this page or post, or whether you don't. Index means you're going to show it to the robot. No index means you're not. It's really basic. For anything that you want to be shown on the internet, put index. And that's going to be put up on any search engine, and the robots are going to find them, and it's going to increase the SEO on your website. Follow is just where they kind of update the post or the page. You pretty much always want to have this set to follow and always have this set to index. Meta Robots Advanced, these are all kind of specific settings that, again, you don't really need to mess with too much. Archive is just if something gets old, it changes how the robot looks at it, and that's kind of what all these do. Snippet is basically it shortens your post and uses that. And this is all based on the actual meta information. Basically, you can leave that as none. The canonical URL is if you want to have a special URL for this page or post as opposed to the one that automatically gets generated right up here, the permalink, then you can enter it in this canonical URL spot. You don't need to do this very often because the WordPress website that we set up for you is going to automatically give you the best SEO permalink that you can have. If you want, you can type in a new URL here, but you really don't need to. And then this 301 redirect. What that is if someone comes to this page, it's going to automatically redirect them somewhere else. So say you wanted to redirect this page to, adrianfritz.com. You would just enter the URL of the site in here, and that's all you would have to do. And what would happen is when people visited this link right here, what it would do is it would immediately take them to the URL that you enter right here. Again, if you want people to actually see the content on this page, you don't want to put anything in here. You want to leave this area blank, and odds are, unless there's anything very specific about this page that you don't want robots to take a look at, you want to leave all this as the default settings. And that's about it as far as the basics of the Yoast SEO plugin go.